Hashtag Antifa domestic terrorist has been trending on Twitter today, which is referring to the actions of Antifa. Now, if you don't know who Antifa is a group that claims to be anti-fascist, and the comments on Twitter are insane. It made me think of how our world today caters to political violence like no time before us. If you hop on Twitter, you'll see how conservatives are talking about how violent Antifa is and why they're a terrorist organization. And on the other side, you have liberal Antifa supporters that are arguing that Antifa hasn't killed anyone while the KKK and other right-wing groups have killed people, and that the violence that Antifa does is justified. Now, fortunately, I don't see this dying down anytime soon because both sides seem to be growing more and more in frustration, and I don't think it's far-fetched to anticipate more violence as a result. Now, one reason why I think this is going to continue to grow and it's going to get worse and worse is because of a psychological condition called splitting, and social media and news outlets are designed to cater to the problem. Now, splitting is something that we see happening in politics, war, genocide, and even day-to-day life. And splitting is when you see someone or some group as either all good or all bad without a middle ground. So basically, it simplifies our world so that way we don't have to think as much, and it removes any potential ambiguity so that way we can feel aligned in our own groups of safety. Now, in today's society, it's incredibly hard to find a news station that doesn't use splitting to increase viewer retention. They usually show their political side as all good and the other as all bad, which stimulates the narrative of splitting. The rise of social media doesn't help either, because a marketing tool that's designed into the systems uses the algorithms. Basically, these algorithms are designed to keep people on their platforms, and one way that they do this is by promoting things that will make people stay online and debate for hours. So the more emotional something is, the longer that you're going to stay on to debate it, and the longer that you stay on, the more money they make. It's simple. The algorithm also helps them know what videos you're likely to watch, so if you're liberal or conservative, then they'll send you videos that already agree with your position, since they know that you're likely to watch things that already agree with you. This allows us to maintain our views with more and more confidence. Now, it's no surprise that the states where racism is still the strongest are still segregated. Like social media, if you don't have to talk to people who are different than you, then it's easy to hate them or see them as all bad. The more that you do talk to them, the more that you can relate to them as humans that are just like you. And that's the more that those barriers start to fall down. So ultimately and unconsciously, splitting serves one main purpose. It keeps your self-esteem intact. You can feel good about yourself because you're one of the good guys, and you don't have to start to worry about feeling bad for any of the crimes or abuse that you commit against the bad guy. This is why splitting becomes so important. If the other side were partially good, then you might start to feel like a bad guy for hurting them verbally or otherwise. But because they're all bad and supremely evil, you actually feel good about abusing them verbally or otherwise. As long as you believe that you're a victim or you're protecting the victims when splitting's involved, then you feel like you have a righteous duty to fight against the bad guys at all costs. So the more that you find yourself hating and hurting them, the more that you can reason that it's the right thing to do. And similarly, the other side reacts by feeling the exact same way. And this starts a chain of reactions where the momentum and the hate for each other just continues to build. If you get revenge on someone, you don't love the person more. Instead, you find that you just end up hating them more. So unfortunately, because each side feels like they're doing the right thing and they're protecting the things that give them such a strong sense of virtue, self-worth, and value, emotions are sky high and rational discussions are just out the window. And in turn, both sides keep growing in opposition to each other, and we end up with a more polarized, more hateful, and end up an increasingly divided country. So what can we do about it? Well, somewhere along the way, we seem to have bought into the idea that if the people that we disagree with are jerks, then the best thing for us to do is become jerks as well. But is this idea logical, or is this just backwards reasoning used to justify our negative emotions? What usually happens is that we end up becoming what we hate. We become those aggressors and those oppressors that we can't stand, those bullies that we denounce, and the hate-filled abusers that we strongly oppose. We just don't realize it. Not too long ago, Martin Luther King Jr. was able to make progress by rejecting the idea of an eye for an eye and employing principles that he credits to Christ. He said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." Now, how quickly have we forgotten all that King stood for and why he was able to make a lasting change? So, as Christ says, love one another, and instead of hating your enemies, pray for them. And the next time that you stumble on Twitter and you see this madness, what are you going to say? What do you mean?